What's up, everyone? My name is Brandon Gettig. I'm an area representative with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes here in Rochester, New York. And today I just want to tell you a little bit more of my story of why I am FCA. So my story starts when I was very young. I'm the third in line out of four awesome siblings. And we grew up in a small town in the middle of Pennsylvania called Howard, Pennsylvania. When I was about 11 years old, we moved a few miles up the road to another town called Middlesburg. So shout out to everyone back in Howard and Middlesburg, two places that are still very special to me. But by the time, before I had even started school, my mom was actually running a daycare out of our house. So every day we would go to school and then we'd come home, and it would be us siblings and then anywhere from 10 to 12 other kids in our house. We'd have our afternoon snack, and then we'd go out and play in the yard, and anything we could think of: football, baseball, capture the flag, just anything we could play. And I think that really developed in me an enjoyment and a passion for games and sports. I don't think it really ever gave me a chance to not be ultra competitive. So we always had our sibling rivalry, but that just kind of, put it over the top. So as I got older, got more involved in sports, started playing Little League, got to high school and joined in basketball and soccer, and siblings all kind of did the same thing. So sports was very important to us, and it kept us busy, a big part of our lives. So at the same time, I also grew up in a great Christian community. Both my parents love the Lord, and they raised me, my siblings, encouraged us to do the same. They modeled it for us very well. So I'm very thankful for them. And it was just a great atmosphere to grow up in the church community. And I gave my life to Christ when I was 13 years old, was baptized, and I made that decision at Sylvan Hills Christian Service Camp, one of my favorite places on earth back in Pennsylvania. So I made that decision and was on fire for the Lord. And, went back to school, started living life again, and just started to face a lot of the real world struggles that I had never been through before. So I was playing sports and was doing school and was trying to be serious about my faith, but I came to realize that the locker room is not always a very popular place to be a Christian. So I had a lot of friends on my teams and stuff, but I just didn't have a lot of the same values. So I didn't connect and felt like I fit in super well. So, I would try to go make friends other places, but when I would do that, there was kind of just this perception that I was, Brandon the athlete, because I was very involved in sports. So I felt like I didn't really have a place to fit in. And I think when you're young, people say that your main priority is the approval of your parents, and then as you get older, it becomes the approval of your peers. And I didn't know it at the time, but I felt like I was just desperately searching for a place to fit in and belong, and I just felt like I never had it. So because of this perception of feeling like I was just Brandon the athlete, if that's what people know me for, then I'm just gonna try to go all in and see if I can get people to like me that way. So it started this cycle of just trying to achieve and put everything I had into sports so I could succeed, and failure was really tough for me because I felt like I was letting people down and people wouldn't like me if I wasn't doing well. I was blessed a lot to develop some skills that God had given me, and was successful and was receiving awards and accomplishments, and each one that came along, it just almost made me feel more empty because I had this great thing happen, but it just didn't, it still couldn't fill that void in my life that I needed God to fill. I had a pretty impactful moment. We went on a missions trip the summer in between my sophomore and junior year of high school. It was my youth group and another local church youth group. We went to Howes Mills Christian Assembly in West Virginia. And we were just serving in the community, doing some stuff for the people down there. And on the second to last day we were there, after lunch, we had some downtime. And one of the kids from the youth group had a skateboard, so we were riding it down the hill of the entrance of the camp. And at the bottom of the entrance, there was a speed bump with a little gap and two big brick pillars, one on each side. So I had never really done that before. We were just learning, so we would start higher and higher up the hill each time. And then one time I started too high, going too fast, I lost control. And in the moment, I'm like, well, I can either hit this speed bump and go flying or jump off and try to stay on my feet. So I tried to jump off, didn't work. I hit hard, I slid on the pavement, and I stopped just short of one of the big brick pillars next to the driveway. So I laid there for a second, hurt pretty bad, got up, and everyone was kind of looking at me like I was a ghost standing there. Now, thankfully, one of the youth leaders with the youth group that was on that trip was also the athletic trainer for my high school. So shout out to Devo if you ever end up watching this. So he took care of me, he cleaned me up, got me back on my feet, and then we finished a missions trip. We ended up going back to that same place the next year. But that was right in that middle of that time where I was kind of just searching for a place of belonging. I didn't feel like I had a lot of purpose because of not having a place to belong. I became very callous and distant to even my friends and my family. I just felt like I didn't fit in, and they didn't know me. They just loved me for what I could do and not who I was. So a couple years went by, and just kind of in that cycle, I remember one night I was laying in bed and having a really tough time, struggling with feeling like I didn't have purpose. I didn't really have a lot of meaning in my life. And for whatever reason, I hadn't even thought of it since it happened, but the thought came back to when I wrecked and I fell on the whole skateboard thing. I didn't think much of it at the time, but it was just probably the most intensely I feel like I've ever experienced God speaking to me and God's presence. And in that moment, I just through all of the frustration and confusion, I felt like God was saying, you could have left this earth already a long time ago, but I'm not done with you yet. And from that moment on, it gave me a new sense of purpose. I didn't know exactly what it was at the time, but at least gave me a reason to feel like I had something to keep fighting for. So life went on after that, and went back to school and sports and all that stuff, and it started to help me grow a lot in my faith and my relationship with Jesus, because it was less about the head knowledge at that point and actually experiencing what it's like to feel your life change because of God just showing up in a time when you didn't think he would. So I graduated high school, I went to college, and I played baseball in college, 4 great years at Penn State Du Bois School in Pennsylvania. And amazing teammates, amazing coach, great program there. I had a great time. But as I was getting ready to graduate, I was looking at my life, I'm like, man, I'm not quite sure what I want to do yet. I have these interests and these passions, but I'm not sure how it's going to line up. And it was about my junior year of college was the first time I heard about the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. We didn't have it where I was from growing up, so I didn't really know about it. So when I heard about it, it drew me in, and I'm like, oh, that's an interesting idea. Let's learn more about it. So I had an opportunity to start coaching after I graduated at another school called Houghton College in Western New York. Spent 2 great years there, and that's where I got connected with FCA. Seeing an organization and what honestly feels like a family so unified in their desire to want to use sports to lead people to Christ so that other people feel like they're more than their sport, they're more than just who they are as an athlete, but who they are as a child of God, and helping them realize that they have purpose outside of it. I was immediately hooked. I was a little bit stubborn to start, and just because I was scared, I had never done anything like this before, but I had amazing connections with the people who I now work with at FCA, who just encouraged me the whole time and eventually talked me into it. So I took a leap of faith and joined FCA, and it's been on staff now for about 2 months, and it's been phenomenal. I'm loving it so far, and I'm just excited to continue to be able to work with coaches and athletes to see the world transformed by Jesus through sports. Those are two of the biggest influences in my life growing up were my Christian faith, my family, my leaders that really poured into me, and the sports world. Just the passion that I have, the gifts that God's given me to be able to use to glorify Him. And so I'm excited to continue this journey with FCA, and just to see Jesus change lives and to make a difference in our community and in the world around us.